Volume IQ for Liquidity View. We have finally integrated our Volume IQ indicator into our dashboard and scanner called Liquidity View. How this works and what kind of capability this brings with it, we're gonna see now. But first off, what is a volume profile indicator? Well, unlike traditional volume, a volume profile indicator, as you can see it here on the right hand side of the chart, it shows you volume per price level. Each bar here in this histogram shows you how much trading volume there was at this particular price level. So right off the bat, you can see that the price level around, let's say 250, this big yellow bar here was the most contested one, followed by the price level around 240, then down here maybe let's say 220, and so forth. But you can also see that these price levels above 280 up until like 320, maybe 338 are very little contested, and there's very little volume going on. And typically when there's very little contention, very little volume going on, price just powers through these levels. Whereas when price comes into a high volume area, like the one here around 240, 250, price tends to hang out there. It spends a lot of time there. There's a lot of back and forth going on. So at the minimum, a volume profile indicator will show you this histogram. But there is so much more. We believe that a complete volume profile indicator should show you, in addition to these price levels and how much volume there was, it should show you also whether there was a bias towards buyers or sellers in any given price level. What is the overarching trend? Are we rather bullish or bearish from a longer term point of view? Where is the zone of control? And most importantly, because we believe every indicator should be actionable, meaning you should see what kind of trade could you do at any given moment. There should be action zones and direct indication as to what should be done in terms of perhaps opening a trade, perhaps adjusting a trade, or perhaps closing a trade. We call these action zones, and the volume profile indicator should guide you towards particular trade actions. Introducing Volume IQ, an indicator which brings all these features integrated. Now, we have introduced Volume IQ for various platforms in the past, for TradingView, for NinjaTrader, for MotiveWave, but finally now also we have integrated Volume IQ into our dashboard and scanner called Liquidity View. And real quick, right, just to show you the difference, a vanilla volume profile indicator, which you can see here on the left hand side, only basically shows you volume per price level. This is pretty much it. You can see the high volume nodes and the lower volume nodes. In contrast to this, Volume IQ, as you can see it here on the right-hand side, shows you so much more. First of all, you can see here it has lots more colors here and lots more things going on, but all of these for a particular purpose. So you can see where is my zone of control. What is the particular price bias at any given price level? For example, here, this greenish area, you can see this on the right-hand side, this greenish block here shows your price level, where historically speaking, there have been more buyers than sellers. Or up here, you can see this little red block here. That's a price level or an area of price where traditionally there have been more sellers. And you can use this information to predict where and when price may be in the future. In addition to this, you will also see these little boxes here on the left-hand side. You can see them here, this greenish one, or perhaps this reddish one and this bigger greenish one. These are what we call action zones. And depending on what kind of pattern they have inside, we have a whole masterclass on this, you can derive a particular trade action from it. But in a nutshell, greenish or bluish action zone is bullish, potentially for a long entry, and a reddish action zone is more bearish, potentially for a short entry. And the good news is we have now integrated all these features of our Volume IQ indicator into our Liquidity View dashboard. So two things here. First off, the chart indicator is available now in the dashboard along with action zones, the zone of control, bias blocks, the macro trend, and so forth. You can see it here, for example, on this chart of Broadcom. We have the volume profile indicator on the right-hand side. This comes directly from our dashboard. And you can see, for example, the price right now in Broadcom is approaching from the top this big or high volume node here, which also is our zone of control. So, and potentially when price approaches such a big high volume node from the top, this high volume node here may act as support. Now, I'm going to put all this information together in just a second. But first off, it is really nice to see how well Volume IQ combines with our already existing indicators in the dashboard. For example, Liquidity View, the indicator which shows you the support and resistance levels directly on the price chart. With MA Rush, our trend indicator indicating, hey, are we currently in a bearish trend? Are we currently in a bullish trend? And also Trend Radar, our pullback indicator, showing you, hey, well, we've been bullish, we've been in a strong uptrend, but right now we are perhaps in a pullback situation. Oftentimes this can be an interesting, entry point for a trend trade. So Volume IQ combines very nicely with all these indicators, which are already in our scanner and dashboard. Here's an example. All right, let's take a look at Broadcom here. We mentioned it before. And in fact, what we can also see here are the Volume IQ indicator on the chart. In addition to Liquidity View, our indicator for resistance, these green lines, and support, these reddish lines, and MA Rush, which is our trend indicator. What we can see here is that Broadcom is a bullish stock. You can see all these green shaded areas here. It's a very bullish stock. It's been bullish for a very long time. But after reaching all-time highs here back in May or June, the price, it pulled back down to this reddish level here, which is a support level as per our Liquidity IQ indicator. And what do you see right below this indicator? Well, the zone of control of our volume profile indicator, meaning we now have two support levels, the one that comes from Liquidity IQ and the ones that comes from Volume IQ, supporting price action. Basically, Volume IQ, or the zone of control here, acts as a second line of defense, ideally preventing price from trading further down. And instead, price will bounce off these levels towards higher price levels. And if you were to take a trade, you could think of potentially going long here at this price level right now, knowing that, hey, the trend is in favor of our bounce trade to the upside because the trend is already bullish. Secondly, we are at a key support level as per our Liquidity IQ indicator. And right below this, as a second line of defense, we have our Volume IQ zone of control. So all three things come together. In trading, we call this confluence, where multiple indications, multiple indicators are forecasting the same future price direction. Here's another example. So here we have Volume IQ together with Trend Radar and MA Rush on our chart. So what do we see here? Well, likewise on this symbol here, this is the iShares US Aerospace and Defense ETF. It is in a long-term uptrend. You can see this here. Our trend or our MA Rush indicator shows all these bars in green. We're making higher lows and higher highs along the way. Secondly, let's have a look at Trend Radar down here. So it's predominantly green, but every once in a while, a red patch is creeping in. These are pullbacks, healthy pullbacks within a strong uptrend. And if you look at the last bars here on the chart, we can see, well, once again, Trend Radar is showing us 1, 2, 3, 4 red bars here, whereas the last bar, the last row here is still green. That's a pullback within a strong uptrend. And thirdly, this is where Volume IQ comes in. Look where price action is right now. Once again, directly at the zone of control, which may act as support at this point. And you can imagine, okay, or potentially think about this as price is in a strong uptrend. Price has pulled back, which is completely normal within such an uptrend. We call this the healthy pullbacks, and has hit support right now. Once again, three indications that, hey, potentially we can look for a long entry here, anticipating the price will bounce off to the bullish side from this price level here. So two examples, but best of all, you can scan for these setups now using our dashboard. As you know, our scanner, or the scanner built into the dashboard, scans through more than 6,000 symbols in stocks, ETFs, indices, futures, cryptos, FX, and so forth. And what you can do now is you can use the scanner to scan for symbols which are currently in the zone of control, for example, or scan for symbols which are getting close to the zone of control. Maybe not there yet, we're not there yet, we're nearby, but we're getting close to the zone of control, either from the upside or from the downside. And a third scan that you can now do is a bias scan, as we call it, scanning, hey, what is the current bias at the current price level? Are we rather bearish, bullish, or neutral? All this can be done now with our Liquidity View dashboard and scanner. So let's check it out. I'm going to go over to our scanner. There we go. And the new columns that we've added are the ones here on the right-hand side of the scanner. VIQ, VIQ stands for Volume IQ bias, VIQ zone of control, as ZOC, zone of control, and VIQ, distant percent. We're going to get to these in a second, but first off, I'm going to show you how you can apply the volume IQ indicator to the chart. So all you need to do is to go to indicators here on your chart and then type in the word volume. There we go. And look for the indicator called Trading Indicators, our company, dash volume IQ. You click on it, and once done, you can see it here. The volume IQ indicator is now displayed directly on the right-hand side of your chart. And for example, here, for this particular symbol, ITA, we discussed it before, the iShares US Aerospace and Defense ETF, we can see the price just came down into this high volume node, which also happens to be the zone of control. Now, what's really cool is that if we look at the scanner here, on the left-hand side, here we have the same symbol selected, ITA, and you can see in this column here, VIQ, zone of control, ZOC, a little check mark, meaning the scanner identified that, okay, ITA right now, price action is directly in the zone of control. And in fact, there are multiple these symbols, not just ITA. If we go up here, HER.MI, not sure which stock this is, but it also has a check mark here. Let's check it out. So it's going to open up, and once loaded, we can see that, okay, also for this particular stock, the Hera SPA, also price action right now, price is exactly in the zone of control. You can see this big high volume node. And one more example, let me just find one that's a bit more prominent. If I can find one real quick, let me take a quick look here. Just take this filter out just to find a few more. Maybe AGIX, this one here, once loaded also here. The Crane Shares Artificial Intelligence and Technology Public and Private ETF. What a mouthful. But also here we can see price action right now is exactly in the zone of control. This is what you can do now with our Liquidity View dashboard. You can scan for symbols which are directly in the zone of control. But it doesn't stop there. Because sometimes, in fact, the way I like to use our volume IQ indicator is I like to find stocks and symbols which are getting close to the zone of control, but perhaps are not fully there yet. Let me give you an example. So we're going to clear out our filters. There we're going to start from scratch. And now we're going to use a column here called Volume IQ, VIQ, distant percent. This is an indication how close or how far away price right now is from the zone of control. Here's an example. Let's pick a really big value like this one here. The ABBV, 72.4%, meaning price right now for AbbVie is really far away from the zone of control. Let's check it out. So I'm going to open it up, and we can see we're really far away. The zone of control is down here, price is all the way up here. So for this particular symbol, we're nowhere near the zone of control, because in fact, we are 72.4% away from the zone of control. This is what this number means. But there are other cases. Let's go, for example, to this one down here, ABM. 6.4. So here we would expect price to be much closer to the zone of control. Let's check it out. So I'm going to click on it. The chart is opening up, and look now, price is much closer at this big high volume node. So this is what this column gives you. And in fact, if the number here is green, that means price is above the zone of control. So we can see it here. And if it's red, like in this case here, for example, for ABAT, ABAT, it's a red 9.4. We expect price action to be below the zone of control. You can see it here. The zone of control is here, and price action is below 9.5% below the zone of control. And one last thing we can do, then we're going to put it all together, is we can use this column here, this new scan column called Volume IQ Bias. As you can see it here, it either has a green, red, or a gray value. And this gives you the bias here on the right-hand side of Volume IQ. An example, AbbVie, for example, has a green dot or a green square here. You can look at it. And if you look now at Volume IQ and look at the bias block here to the right-hand side, we can see it's green. Now it gives you, hey, at this price level, there are more buyers typically than sellers. Or, for example, here, if you look at, let me find something of interest here, AATC, I'm not sure if we had this one before, but if you're opening up, you can see price action right now is in a bearish bias block here. Price is right here, and the block here on the right-hand side is reddish. And of course, we also have the same thing for neutral blocks on the right-hand side. Now, let's put this all together. So remember how I mentioned at the beginning that we can combine Volume IQ or the indicator here with our already built-in Liquidity IQ and MA Rush indicators, for example. Let's see how this can work. So I'm going to clear out our filters once again, and now we're going to search for a stock which is bullish as per ME-Rush. Let's say bullish for at least 500 trading days. All right, which currently, as per our Liquidity IQ indicator, trades near support, which would be a long bounce setup. So right now, just with these two filters, we have 63 stocks remaining. An example here, for example, is Ali. If you open this up, you can see, okay, Ali is now, one second, if I just put on Liquidity IQ and ME-Rush right there, is currently trading exactly near support. Look at this price action here directly at this reddish level here, which is a support zone. And now the kicker. We can combine this with our volume IQ scan. For example, what if we wanted that in addition to being in an uptrend, as we already have, in addition to being near support, we also want to have the zone of control of our volume profile indicator right below price action, basically acting as a second line of defense. So let's think about this. So we already have ME-Rush greater than 500, only symbols which have been bullish for at least 500 trading days. We have Liquidity IQ, long bounce setup, meaning price is right next to a support level. But now we're going to add one more thing to this whole mix. We're going to say, okay, we want the zone of control at most 10% below price action, so really nearby. So I'm going to do this scan as well. And you can see it here. We only have 6 symbols remaining. And the first one is AVGO Broadcom. Let's check it out one more time. You can see it here. Once I enable Volume IQ, everything comes together, the perfect confluence. Bullish trend, pullback down to a support level as per our Liquidity IQ indicator, and right below the zone of control as per our Volume IQ indicator. Isn't that cool? This is now possible with our new version of Liquidity View. Here, one more example, perhaps. Let me just pick maybe SO here. One more example, the Southern Company. Same thing. Let me make this full screen. Bullish trend. You can see it here. We are bullish. We pulled back down to a support level. And where are we? Right at the zone of control. Once again, perfect confluence. And here the idea is potentially look for long entries, expecting price to bounce off this level towards higher price levels. This is now possible with our Liquidity View dashboard.